We've got the odds on who could be the prophesized prince that was promised in Game of Thrones. All right, let's just get that spoiler warning out of the way right now. Spoiler, 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 theories, 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 and promises, promises. Since Season 2, Game of Thrones has been teasing the return of Azor Ahai, the fabled prince who was promised. Now, Azor Ahai was a legendary warrior during the Long Night who used a powerful sword called Lightbringer to fend off the White Walkers a whole 8,000 years before Jon Snow even laid eyes on the icy bastards. And he's prophesied to return right when the Seven Kingdoms need him the most, which if you've been watching Game of Thrones, you know is right about now. In the books, the full prophecy, as delivered by Melisandre, goes like this. There will come a day after a long summer when the stars bleed and the cold breath of darkness falls heavy on the world. In this dread hour, a warrior shall draw from the fire a burning sword, and that sword shall be Lightbringer, the red sword of heroes, and he who clasps it shall be Azor Ahai come again, and the darkness shall flee before him. With the additional addendum, when the red star bleeds and the darkness gathers, Azor Ahai shall be born again amidst smoke and salt to wake dragons out of stone. Now that all seems pretty specific. But like every job opening in Westeros, there are a lot of applicants for a single position. The promised prince could be anyone, especially since we learned the prophecy is gender neutral and could just as easily refer to a princess.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it?
No, but I like it better.
But we've got our guesses about the identity of Azor Ahai 2.0, and we're breaking them down right now. Jon Snow, the current king in the north, is a likely choice for Azor Ahai, seeing as how his secret ancestry makes him the perfect mingling of ice and fire, and he's been raised from the dead by the Lord of Light. Plus, that awakens dragons from stone line could be a cheeky reference to him mining dragonglass under Dragonstone, but knowing how many twists and turns the Thrones likes to take on us, Jon's almost too perfect of a choice. Still, odds are 2-1 that Jon is the prince that was promised. Daenerys Targaryen, as we said, thanks to Melisandre, we know that the word for prince in High Valyrian can also mean princess, and with all that Dany represents, mainly fire, dragons, and freedom, it seems that she could be a top contender for the prophecy. Plus, there's another part of the Azor Ahai legend that could be worth examining. The OG prince made 3 attempts at forging his White Walker slaying sword Lightbringer. The first time he tried to temper it by submerging it in water and it shattered. The second time he thrust it into a lion's heart and it shattered again. It only stayed in one piece the third time when he used it to stab his beloved wife. Ha! God, good old Thrones. Now take a look at the recent battles Dany has been engaging in. The first one on water between the rival Greyjoy factions. The second one at Casterly Rock, the heart of the Lannisters, aka the Lion's Empire. And each of these battles have been huge failures for her, but they do pretty clearly mirror Azor Ahai's attempts to forge his sword. The question now is just what will the third battle be, and which beloved member of Dany's posse is gonna go out just like Azor's wife. But considering all that, we're putting the Dany odds at 3-1.
Well, that is unfortunate.
Next on our list, Jaime Lannister. Now, some are arguing the story of the sword actually points to Jaime. Basically, the interpretation is that he'll fulfill the third and final act when he kills Cersei. The Daenerys parallels seem more airtight, but it's a definite possibility that we're giving 4-1 odds.
Possibly.
Sir Davos Seaworth. Davos as Azor Ahai was a theory posted by a Redditor, which Dan Casey covered in the Dan Cave.
Davos Seaworth.
Davos definitely has some potential, with mention of his rebirth after the Battle of Blackwater and his presence at Jon Snow's resurrection. Plus, Dan Casey mentioned it, so we decided to be nice. Odds are 6-1.
Me.
Jorah Mormont. Sir Jorah's recent freedom from grayscale could be considered a rebirth and a literal awakening from stone, putting him in the running for Azor Ahai. He also has someone he loves, Dany, who, if he were ever driven to kill, granted that's a major long shot, could fulfill that whole sword plungy and wifey part of the prophecy. Odds are 7-1. Gendry. If he ever stops rowing and makes landfall somewhere useful, Gendry's king's blood could... Actually, you know what? Sorry, I can't do this with a straight face. Gendry's never coming back, folks. He's lost at sea forever. Deal with it. Odds are 500-1.
Why are you doing this?
But finally, our big pick for the prince who was promised. It's a doubleheader. Jon and Dany. Melisandre's arrival at... Thank you for that. Melisandre's arrival at Dragonstone brought us a Red Priestess who is more cautious with her interpretation of her visions from the Lord of Light. Glad to see that she's been humbled by the major F-up of sacrificing a little girl. So instead of outright naming who she thinks might be Azor Ahai, Melisandre suggested that both Dany and Jon have a role to play. Perhaps the long-lost relatives will team up to become the saviors of the world. Odds are 1-to-1.
You're right.
But who do you think is truly the prince or princess that was promised? And did we miss any other possibilities? Let's discuss. And be sure to join us August 5th when my little buddy Andrew Bowser and I sit down with the cast and crew of the new show Midnight Texas. We'll have exclusive behind-the-scenes footage and give live commentary as we stream the first 2 episodes. Hit us up on Twitter with your questions using #MidnightTexas. You can get in on all the fun this Saturday at 6 p.m. Pacific on youtube.com/Nerdist.